Hello, it's Kat of the Electric Cats, and I recently went on a road trip to Los Angeles. So this trip marked two firsts for me. It was my first time going to LA, and it was my first time taking a trip in my Chevy Bolt where I would need to stop before reaching my final destination. First, I just want to share some details about the trip overall. From my starting point to my destination, it would be 354 miles and approximately 6 hours. And for the most part, it's a fairly boring drive. The majority of the drive is on I-5, which is through farmland in California, so it's quite straight and quite flat. And the advertised range of a 2021 Chevy Bolt, when fully charged, is 259 miles. Now, there were a couple of factors, three factors arguably, that problematize that range. So first of all, when you're on the highway, you're usually driving at higher speeds, so that reduces the estimated range. Second, it's summer. I was driving the second weekend of June, and it was quite hot. I was using climate control, the air conditioning, for most of the drive, so that also reduces the range of the vehicle. The third factor is terrain. So even though most of the drive is flat and straight, when you get down to the Los Angeles area, there's a portion of I-5 southbound known as the Grapevine, and you actually gain an elevation of around 4,000 feet. So that's quite a strain on any vehicle. And when you're actually starting to make that ascent, there's a sign on the interstate encouraging vehicles to turn off their AC so you don't experience engine failure. So those are the three factors that I had to take into account when making this drive. I could have made the drive stopping once to charge, but since I was driving alone and it was hot and I wanted to hydrate and use the bathroom and stop and have snacks, I did budget the time for 2 fast charging stops, and I did end up stopping 2 times, both on the way down and on the way back up. As I mentioned, this was my first time driving to LA, and I used the PlugShare app to plot out my charging stops before my trip. So here is my collection of various EV-related apps on my phone, and there is PlugShare. If you hit the trip function down there, so I created these for the video. So here is the route to LA from the San Francisco Bay Area, and as you can see, most of it is on Interstate 5. So these are the stops that I already plotted out in advance. So when I was in LA, I was staying in a more residential area in the San Fernando Valley, and I stayed at an Airbnb where the hosts were actually happy owners of a Chevy Bolt as well, and they had level 2 charging installed on their property, which they generously allowed me to use. So it was nice to come back after a day of eating and exploring and just plug in at their level 2 charger at no cost to me. It was also especially helpful for making sure that I had a full charge when I hit the road again to come back to the Bay Area. So overall, I had a really smooth experience. I think there's a part of me as a relatively new EV driver that still experiences range anxiety, and it's nice to get this trip under my belt that involved stopping to charge my car before reaching my final destination, because now I feel more confident about taking road trips, and I'm eager to hit the road more often in my Bolt. I never had to wait for a charger when I arrived at these charging stations. My one critique of stopping to charge isn't necessarily exclusive to EV charging. I wasn't really a fan of food options available at rest stops and gas stations, and I think that's amplified when you're charging an EV, since you're there for around 40 minutes as opposed to 10 minutes. And the conditions were pretty rough as well, since there isn't much shade at these charging stations, and it was easily around 98 degrees. I did have a camping chair in the back of my Bolt, and once you find some shade, it's not that bad. So in this video that you're going to hopefully continue watching, I have edited together footage from each of the charging stops that I made, and I've also included some brief snapshots of some of the things I did when I was in Los Angeles. And I decided to stop in a town near Fresno called Los Banos. I would pronounce it Los Banos, but it's a big shopping complex. There's a Target. There are about 4 or 5 Electrify America chargers here, and I'm the only EV plugged in. I'm gonna have a little lunch break. I think there's a Starbucks, and I might get some cool caffeinated beverage, and then I'll hit the road again. And I anticipate needing to use the bathroom another time, and I figure if I'm going to use the bathroom, stretch my legs, might as well plug my car in. I'm about to hit the road again. I am back to an 80% state of charge. I ate a little lunch that I brought and used the bathroom and got a drink at Starbucks. It is so hot right now. I've never really been to this part of California, and I am just suffering. Hello, I'm taking my second charging / bathroom break in a small town called Buttonwillow near Bakersfield, California. This is my first time using a fast charger by ChargePoint, so that's pretty exciting. I think the charging stations look pretty cool. So I'll be here for around 30-45 minutes. I'll use the bathroom, stretch my legs. Then this should be my last stop before I reach my final destination in Los Angeles. So I've got 15 more minutes until I'm ready to leave this fast charging station, and there is also a Tesla supercharging station here, and the line is quite long, so it's kind of nice to have a car that doesn't use the Tesla system right now. what I've noticed driving in LA with an electric vehicle is that there are many chargers. That doesn't surprise me, being the state of California. And some places that I went to included the Getty Center, and they have a large parking structure with several EV chargers. They were all in use when I visited the Getty on a Sunday afternoon. I also went to a hotel in West Hollywood on the Sunset Strip, and their parking structure also had EV charging, and it was free, which helps because the parking fee was quite high. I'm over in Los Hills, California, charging at an Electrify America station. There are a bunch of fast food places here, including Wendy's, Taco Bell. I didn't get anything though. I'm just gonna eat some corn chips while I charge and hydrate and maybe use the bathroom again. So I left Los Angeles with an 80% state of charge, around 254 miles, and when I arrived here and plugged in, I had a range of 88 miles. So I'll be here for around 30 minutes. This is the last charging stop of my drive back to the Bay Area from LA, and I'm actually just stopped at the same Electrify America charger in Los Banos, California. This was my first stop when I was driving southbound. Did a little bit of shopping at Target, and there's about 10 more minutes left, and we'll be heading back, and we'll be hitting some traffic once we're back in the Bay Area. So it's only about 100 miles, but it'll take like an hour and 45 minutes. So this is my Electrify America app showing my 3 charging stops using Electrify America stations. This was my first stop southbound. As you can see, it costs around 10 bucks. Then on my drive back, I stopped at this station in Los Hills. That was around $12. And second stop on the way back to the Bay Area, I stopped at that Target in Los Banos once again. And I actually wasn't charged for it for whatever reason, so it ended up being a free charging session, I guess. And southbound, I also stopped at a charge point station in Buttonwillow, California, and that cost me, as you can see, around $15.50. Overall, driving from the Bay Area to LA and back cost me $37 in paid charging. And with the price of gas here in California, easily over $6 a gallon. And when I was in LA, prices were around $7 a gallon and a little more. So that $37 would get you around not even 6 gallons of gas. So yay for EVs. Thanks for watching the Electric Cats.